Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Project. This is going to be our January 2024 compilation video. If you happen to be new here, and there are about 40 of you who have joined in the last month, appreciate you all joining up. We do these videos at I used to be the top of the month, but now some companies aren't releasing box art, and we do have several things in here that I still don't have box art for. Mid part of the month, to go over all the expected kit releases within a given month. And again, if you're watching this from the future and not paying attention to thumbnails, this is January of 2024. So we got 26 releases to talk about this month, probably evenly split between the United States and our friends over in Japan primarily. Do have a few other new and Meng kits to talk about, and those are not necessarily Japanese companies in any form whatsoever. So yeah, let's go ahead and just dive right on in here, head first into the big old pile of round 2. Now, I know in the last video I was like, guys, it's going to be a whole bunch of new tool kits here, and it's going to be so exciting. Several of the releases that we were expecting and that were originally slated in the most recent distribution list for being January kits, why I said that in the last video, have now been pushed back to February. You may or may not have noticed, depending on how into the day-to-day sort of minutia of release lists you tend to be in. I know some folks that are like super interested in this, and then of course you have the complete other end of the spectrum where it's like, oh crap, look what showed up at the hobby shop. So we do still have quite a bit of stuff from round 2, including one new tool kit. So there is not complete and total utter dismal failure. It is just a few things have been slid back into next month. Just a couple things from Salvino's JR. No Atlantis, no Mobius, no Rel, and then again, like I said, overseas. So let's go over here and look at the round 2 stuff. A lot of reissues here. Some of it is stuff that has not been available in quite some time, so that's kind of exciting. Plus, again, one new toolkit. So let's go. First up, an old IMC favorite, the Touchtone Terror. Now, at Lindbergh, this was never available in the Touchtone Terror. It was forever the Little Red Wagon. When it was done at IMC, it was done in both fashions, and AMT, now, of course, owning Lindbergh for about the last 8 to 10 years now, has gone full-on retro box art so far back that it's a company 2 companies ago. So, if you've seen a Little Red Wagon, you know what to expect here. There are no new parts added to this. However, there are some parts that are being sort of run for the first time, if you will, since the last time you may have seen this in a Lindbergh box. And those parts are a lot of the telephone stuff, the ladder rack, and things of that nature for the stock version of this, the canopy tent, the telephone, which were plastic parts in the past, or at least the telephone was, are being done in like cardboard display pieces. It caused a lot of drama within the vocal minority that the telephone is not in plastic. It was in clear plastic at one point in time. Apparently that part of the tooling is in such condition that producing the actual telephone booth was not possible. It really was not a viable thing to retool that telephone booth on a piece of tooling that old. So you have this cardboard sort of diorama piece rather than an injection molded item. Take that for what you will. I mean, it's up to you whether or not you're mad about that. It's the first time the Touchtone Terror kit in this, unless you got aftermarket decals, has been available in a box with the Frisco Sleeper decals since like 1970 something. So, pick your battles there. And again, like this kit has always been, it's available in drag, it's available in stock, and you have your choice of building styles with that. Another old pile of IMC goodness from the past, if I can find it on my screen here. I don't know why I say this, because when you guys see it, it'll just be smoothly showing up on screen, but the thing I'm looking through, let me find it. Anyway, it's the Dodge L700 truck, so the bigger version of the Touchtone Terror Little Red Wagon. Got flatbed racing trailer included here. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing in the sense that this trailer, if you may recall, a year and a half ago, AMT released something called the Big Semi Trailer, which was a trailer that you could build as sort of a 40-foot trailer or a short 20-foot trailer, city haul or long haul trailer. This is that same trailer, only half of it. So you're only getting a 20-foot deck here, along with the suspension components for the 20-foot deck. Although I believe that they include the extra axle to make it a tandem axle, but you never put tandem axles on something that's short. It just wouldn't fit. It wouldn't turn. It would just skid around corners just due to the turning radius of that. First time the L700's been out in a little while. Again, I think the last time we saw this was in a Lindbergh boxing, which puts it back in the 2010s somewhere. This did get a release, I believe, with the Little Red Wagon on it at Lindbergh at one point in time. The main difference in this trailer, by the way, from the van trailer is the fact that it has this little front end on the, sort of hiding the tire rack. The tire rack and that little aero piece are not in the semi-trailer itself. Although this, without that piece on there and with two decks, it's a flatbed trailer, because Lindbergh sold it that way as well when they, and IMC did as well back in the old days. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a little while since this has been out. Know that in the description of this, Round 2 says this is a truck kit for advanced builders. Yes, indeed, it certainly is. Yeah, not to feed into the old kits or bad tripe or anything else like that, but know that you are setting yourself up for a challenging building process with this. If you thought some of those AMT MPC truck kits from the 1970s were kind of hard to finagle together, this one is certainly right up there with them. I never say not to buy something necessarily unless it's maybe like a really old crappy motorized Japanese kit, because some of those have been surpassed long ago by newer things, and I don't understand why those old things are still being reissued necessarily. When it comes to something like this where there is no other option, just be aware of the challenges the kit presents before you head on in there and say, Round 2 kits, they're crap, because some Round 2 kits are crap, but you should have known that before you bought it. Alright, speaking of old kits, this is an AMT kit, the Mach 1 Mustang funny car, 1970 Ford Mustang. If you've ever wondered where the 1970 Ford Mustang annual went, there it is right there, stuck inside this god-awful drag kit. Alright, so it's not a god-awful drag kit necessarily, but understand, we're talking about 1960s era AMT tooling here, some of which was pretty good, some of which was pretty bad. Anytime you have a dragster from this era of AMT, you're talking about something that was designed for a specific project that AMT, at that time, basically took a lot of old annual kits that were no longer, of purpose. Man, looking back at it now and today, boy, I bet they wish they kept those kits in one piece. But they didn't, because, sales and whatnot. And again, the hobby at this time aimed at children, really hard at children, although obviously there were adults building even back then. But, toy stores. It's a toy. So we slapped on a lot of stuff. It's the first time this kit's been available since the 1970s. It says it has newly tooled parts. I cannot for the life of me, and I've tried to go back and search, and the Model Cars Magazine's forums search facility is about as useless as, well, Model Cars Magazine forum in general. So it's real hard to find things on there, specifically if you're looking for something that somebody commented in another topic that happens to be about another kit, which happens oftentimes there. Threads wander, which is cool. I like that part of it. Let it go wherever it goes, but it does make it hard to go back and try to find information later. There are certain pieces of this that were retooled. Again, I can't remember exactly what they are right now, to sort of make this a complete kit again, because even afterwards, it was, after a certain point in time, this kit became something that you could not issue in a box anymore. So, a few new pieces there, of course, the vintage box art and all that happiness with the vintage decals and things of that nature. And then we have, let's see, where are we at? Alright, so we got, next up, we have a reissue, and this was not that long ago. This was just out about 7 years ago, and it's a reissue of the 64 Impala. I think they sort of chucked this out real quick to get it out ahead of Revell's reissue of the 64 Impala they're going to do in 2024. Because, hey, if you want a 64 Impala and you see this, you might grab it, not realizing that, hey, this is a 64 Impala from the 1960s. The Revell kit. Wow, that was a lot better. Why did I not buy that instead and just be patient? I like the box art here. You got the silent top with no lettering wording on it, with the Detroit, oldie school Detroit too, his old school U.S. shielding there, U.S. route shield, and makes for cool box art. Kit contents, you ought to know what they are by now. Factory stock, custom, drag, no new parts added here, just a reissue and a different box art, because, by the time this kit is released and you're like, it was only 6 years ago. True, but those kits aren't on most people's hobby shelves anymore, and Round 2 doesn't care whether or not you can buy it somewhere else, because they're not making any money from that. Another reissue of an AMT kit, this time a little bit newer. This was a 1990s tooling during the Mueller era over at AMT. It's a 1966 Oldsmobile 442 W30. So this is a nice kit. I've had one of the original kits. Always, there's always been a few. Well, every model ever made, right? There's always been a few people complaining about something, so there's always been a few words about this. But overall, it's a pretty decent kit. Certainly much better than the Lindbergh 67. 90s era AMT kit, which are usually pretty good in terms of fit and finish and engineering and things like that. You're not fighting some of the gremlins that you would otherwise in some of those kits from the 60s, which a lot of that is just mold wear, right? It's just the kit's old, and 50, 60 years later, it just doesn't spit out the same quality kit it did when it was new. This one being this was one of the last kits that AMT did right before they were bought out by Racing Champions. Not been run that many times in between, so should still be pretty good quality, even though, at this point it's 30 plus years old, but, it's still going to be reasonably fresh because a lot of these kits didn't see much action in that Racing Champions ownership era. And that was a pretty dark time if you weren't actually around for it as it happened. Next up, a modified reissue. This one's pretty cool because it sort of takes an old kit and turns it into something a lot of us wished it was, but it never actually was, and that is a reissue of the 1959 Cadillac Ambulance. So this is the Ecto one from the second movie, and it has been upgraded with an all-new gurney and some new pieces for the back, some medical equipment for the back of the ambulance. Also, you're getting some additional emergency lighting. The little flat lights on the roof came in that surf wagon thing that they did last year, or the year before last, I should say, because 2024 now. That's 2 years ago. So a couple of new pieces of emergency equipment in here. New decal sheet, obviously, with some decals for the windows to make the windows sort of frosted, like an ambulance would have been at the time. New wheels here. I'm not sure if the tires are new as well. It says they have white wall inserts, and there's certainly a big, thick white wall that you would expect from the 1950s, and that is not what those wheels were in the Ghostbusters kit, so they may be brand new wheels as well, but certainly the rims are newer and a stock rim compared to the movie car's rim. The only sort of could be considered a letdown here is they didn't do anything with the front grille, so the headlights are still molded in. They're not clear. A lot of the stuff that they're sort of redoing with like the Duster and the Ford truck stuff like that, you're getting clear headlights and taillights and stuff like that, which upgrades those kits quite a bit. But overall, a lot of us have always wanted this to be an actual ambulance. It was very hard to build an ambulance out of this because the back cargo area was Ghostbusterized, right? It had spices to charge the proton packs and all that sort of goofiness, and so they've taken that out and made this into something resembling a period ambulance, and I think that's a pretty cool use of tooling dollars, if I do say so myself. Next up, another MPC kit. This is the Shirley Maloni long-nosed Ford Mustang funny car. Basically the same kit, I believe, as the Blue Max funny car, which came out about midway through last year. It's a long-nosed Mustang. I believe it rides the exact same drag chassis. You've got the same shtick with the open and closed drag chutes. There is a driver figure for this as well. And obviously here you're getting a new decal sheet for the Shirley Maloni, Cha-Cha Maloni livery, as well as, things of that nature, box art and things of that nature. So not completely, totally new by any stretch of imagination, but certainly a new rendition of it. I should have included this back with the IMC stuff. This got added to the distribution list for January, right towards the end of the month. And it is the old Ford Mustang 263 concept car kit. Yeah, I mean, I know there are people that like this kit. I've had one, and I didn't like it, so that probably colors my judgment. A lot of stuff that IMC did that was done by Lindbergh was, just reissued without any real effort being put into it. It was sort of squirt plastic and mold, and junk comes out other end. I'm assuming they've cleaned the tooling up a little bit here, if nothing else. And, yeah, I mean, this is the concept car for the Mustang. When they decided not to make it into, a bigger car, open doors, open hoods, steering works. It's a bunch of gimmicks from the 60s and that sort of era of like, how complicated can we make a Model B? This one's pretty complicated in that sense. I never actually built the one I had completely because it was just such a frustrating kit, so your mileage may vary on what your opinion is on that. I don't, again, necessarily tell you what you should or shouldn't buy. Just, again, with another IMC kit, expect to put some effort into it in order to get a good-looking model to come out the other end. And let me see, I think that's everything from round 2 except the new toolkit. I want to make sure that I'm good. I think I am. So the one new toolkit, and this one is actually out by the time this video hits the YouTubes, is the 71 Dodge Demon. So this is another one of the cloned kits process that round 2 has been doing for the last 2 years now, based on the original 71 Dodge Demon. Now I know a lot of people are still going to be bent out of shape because I've seen it since this kit was released. It's not on the 71 Duster chassis. No, it's not, because the amount of work that would have been required to merge that 90s era 71 Duster into the original, which was now a 75 Dodge Dart, mind you, to take that and merge it into that interior and chassis and combine it all together in a way that it wasn't just a huge pile of hockey horse crap in the box. It was cheaper to do this and make a new version of the old kit. So, first time around since 1971, obviously. Has some parts, a lot of tweaks done to the chassis to make the chassis a little more robust, a little more complete. Separate exhaust system, things like that. Clear parts for the taillights, clear parts for the headlights. Now, this does say 2 building versions. Understand that the drag, and I'm using air quotes for that, is very, very limited, right? There's a roll cage for it. There's drag slicks for it. There's another set of wheels for it. But, that's it. There's no drag involved here. There's no bigger engine. There's no other hood. It says, in the literature for this, optional hood scoops. And it's true that not every 71 Dodge Demon came with the twin hood scoops that are on the box art and pretty much all of the test builds you've seen of this. But, yeah, your mileage may vary whether or not you like the hood scoops or you don't. Those were technically a factory option, but there's not like there's a great big hood scoop for some great big Hemi or thing like that. No, this is very lightly a 2-in-1, again with the air quotes. But it's very cool to see this come back. This was something that AMT floated probably not too terribly long after round 2 bought AMT and NPC. Like, for a little while they were leasing the tooling, and then they actually purchased the tooling. And they found very quickly that their idea, which is what a lot of people latch onto, well, they said they were gonna. Yeah, they said they were gonna 10 years ago, and it never happened for a reason, and now you got this. Are you really gonna complain? Of course. Yes, it's the internet in 2024. Of course we're going to complain. But, yeah, very cool to see this come back around. It'll certainly be something that, once I see my local hobby shop has it in stock, I will go pick up just to add to my Mopar pile. Over at Salvino's, you're going to get 2 releases for this month. First up is the Chase Elliott 2024 Chevrolet Camaro. This is the kit that everybody gets if you belong to the Salvino's Model Club. And it is the first 2024 kit available. Yay! No major changes to the Camaro were done in NASCAR. Obviously, technically 2024, there is no such thing as a Chevy Camaro in 1-to-1 scale. So, yeah, there are going to be no changes to the real car, or to the NASCAR body either. I do like this Napa livery, the best of all the Napa liveries Chase Elliott's ever run. And it's nice dark blue with the white pinstripes. I think that looks a little bit better than the sort of goofy blue and whites that they've done over the last couple of years. Expect over the early first quarter part of 2024, you'll get the other 2024 liveries for the other Hendrick Motorsports cars, your Byron, your Byron, and I can't remember anybody else that drives for them. Your Byron, your Bowman, and your Larson. Larson's car has the same Hendrick Motorsports livery, very minorly tweaked from 23, which is very minorly tweaked from 2022. There's a pretty nice new Raptor livery for William Byron, and the Ally livery for Alex Bowman this year is pretty cool too. It's all digital camo, which is going to be quite an interesting decal sheet for the folks over at Salvino to put out. And the other kit coming out this month is Ryan Blaney's 2023 Ford Mustang in the Advanced Auto Parts livery. This is pretty cool, black and gold, black and yellow. It's a Steelers car, right? We'll see how much we want to associate with the Steelers car in about 5 hours from when I'm recording this for the playoffs. At any rate, this was planned to come out prior to Ryan Blaney going off and winning the championship in 2023. So you would have got this kit at the end of last year instead of the championship car. Because it was already planned and approved and the decals were already in the process of being done, they went ahead and released it. So there is actually, there you go, another 2023 Ford Mustang kit to get your hands on. Remember, the 2024 Mustang is changing to that Dark Horse new Mustang body, and so they're going to be doing that by reworking the 2023 body tool, and there will be no 2023 Mustangs after this. Not so much a FOMO, because there's a pile of 2023 Mustangs out there if you go and look, but be aware that they're, this, unless one other thing comes through, and there was talk of them running off some bodies just in case, but we'll see if it ever comes to fruition. This will be the last 2023 Mustang that you'll ever see in terms of a full, complete box. So that takes us overseas to Japan, if you want to dip out, because you can't stand that stuff. If you're still here, hey, look at you. All right, so let me check the time on the video. Wow, we're at a good point here. We're not going to get cut off anytime soon. Let's go over to Aoshima, which has 2 releases this month, which are significantly different. First up is a brand new tooling. Liberty Walk. Yes, we're back with the over-fendered Lamborghinis, and we're talking about a Murcielago this time, or Murcielago. Your choice on pronunciations there. So this is a brand new toolkit. If you've followed any of the Liberty Walk stuff they've done, the Aventador, the Huracan, they don't recycle those glue kits, which might be technically on screen at this point. Let me. I look at one thing while I'm obviously recording, and so I can't necessarily see my screens to see. But yes, all of these Aventadors and all these Huracans and stuff like that, they don't reuse those kits for these Liberty Walk kits. They're brand new tools. I try to have the over fenders on and stuff like that, which is fabulous because while the GTR Liberty Walk kits are pretty cool, you do have to do body work on those to fit the over fender kits. These ones are molded into the body already, and haha, you don't have to worry about that. Beyond that, it's a Liberty Walk kit, so you're going to get highly polished plastic. Everything's going to be molded in colors. It's going to come with a sheet of water slides and a sheet of Mylar stickers. These are designed as the sort of the next step from their 1/32 scale Snap-Tite line. We will be getting those 1/24 scale Snap-Tite kits here later in 2024, which will technically at that point become the next step as you go up from 1/32 into 1/24 Snap-Tite kits, and then you go into this style of kit, which is not a Snap-Tite kit. You do need glue, but it's designed that you don't have to paint it necessarily. There are instructions in the back of the kit of how to paint it and what to paint if you choose to paint it, which will be something that I choose to do because it's a pretty nice kit for like a naked build kind of thing. If you don't want to paint it, but, serious model or trying to make a nice looking serious model out of this, serious in air quotes, I mean, what's serious, right? But you know what I mean. It's make an actual model kit out of it and paint it all and not just have it be white, which is what the body's molded in. There are instructions on how to paint everything for that. Remains to be seen if any of the aftermarket Murcielago, like, PE and things would fit this. Might not necessarily, with a lot of Liberty Walk replacing a lot of the suspension components and the wheels and everything like that. So your mileage may vary with that, but that's very cool. It does very quickly make the $160 hobby design set for this, for the, I think technically their Murcielago was for the Fujimi kit, but yeah, it makes that thing completely totally unnecessary. And then a reissue of their Nissan President 1989 version with the insurance, which is a tuning company, VIP car obviously here. This has been out before in the past. This is just being reboxed into the Tune Model car line. And yeah, if something you're into, it's pretty, it's a curbside kit, pretty decent little curbside that was done in mid-90s or so. I personally kind of like this style of Nissan President anyway. I have a couple of the factory stock ones, as I'm not a huge VIP guy. But yeah, cool to see that come back around, and it's a new addition to the line, kit number 84 there, as you can see. And yeah, that's Aoshima. We'll go over to Fujimi. Now, Fujimi has 4 kits we're going to talk about here, and none of these have box art, so just bear with the line art and roll with me here. First up, you're going to get a release, and let me get the absolute proper correct name of what they're calling this. It is a Honda Prelude, and I believe they're calling it the limited edition. Let's see here. Scroll. I meant to have this up, and then I did something. Oh, no, tuning version. Okay, so the Honda Prelude 2.0 SI tuning edition. So, yeah, looking at this line art, BBS rims and some weird secondary trunk spoiler. Yeah, okay, so look at the parts here. One thing that Fujimi has been doing with these kits that I guess is kind of neat is they've been giving us sort of sprue shots. Everything you see on the right-hand side of the screen here is basically for this kit version, right? The 2 big sprues, the body, the glass, that all comes in every Honda Prelude 2.0 that you're going to get out of Fujimi. This other one over here, which has like wheel fitment pieces, as well as the spoilers and a new front air dam, front bumper piece, some things to lower the front suspension. You get those Fujimi style brake tree that comes in like every wheel set that they sell, and then some aggressive pieces down there, like a racing steering wheel, looks like an intercooler piece, some more wheel spacers and things like that. Those are specific to the quote-unquote tuning version of this kit. Now, there's this Prelude that they sell does come in left-hand drive and right-hand drive. That's why there's sort of two dashboard surrounds up there. And the interior, really not too bad. It's a platform style with separate door cards. However, that chassis, my good God. That is an old motorized nonsense if ever there was one. Not as everything molded in there, but it's got the old school style of motorized chassis where it's designed to have the wheels that turn when it backs up. Oh, I don't understand why this... I mean, I know that this style Prelude is also something that Tamiya did, even though that kit's pretty old and kind of really showing its age if you wanted to get one and look at it. Why this style Prelude hasn't gotten done new. This is kind of an iconic Honda at this point. You know, it's what, 40 years old. Somebody new tool a Prelude, please. Hasegawa? Anyone? Since they're the ones doing new tool kits anymore. Yeah, so there's that. And then you have also in the Honda range this month a reissue of their DC5 Integra, which they're calling the Special Edition. I don't see what's special about it. Looking at this parts layout, there's nothing in these parts that aren't in every single DC5 Integra that Fujimi has ever made. As a matter of fact, Fujimi's only ever made one DC5 Integra. A few pieces have been added and subtracted over the course of the years, but for the most part, what you're looking at here in terms of parts is what you get in this every single time it's released. No idea what's special about this at all. There's not a special anything included here, but it's a cool kit. And otherwise, like if you want a DC5 Integra and you don't want to deal with building the Revell kit, this is your other option. Now, obviously the Revell kit's an Acura and it's an RSX and it has left-hand drive in it, and this is a Type R Integra, so it only has JDM right-hand drive in it. But otherwise, I mean, all in all, for what it is, it's a decent curbside and a decent representation of a DC5 Integra, so no hate there, just be aware of what you're buying. Also in curbside this month, everything's going to be curbside this month out of Fujimi, is another release of their Toyota FJ Cruiser. This is going to be what they're calling the two-tone orange type. So as you can see here on the parts, it's orange body, a white roof, and then, again, this is the same sort of similar thing as to the Liberty Walk Lamborghinis, except that the Fujimi kits are snap-tight kits. You don't need glue at all, and the Liberty Walk kits are not snap-tight kits. But otherwise, same principle here, right? The body is in real high-shine plastic. It's split up parts-wise into a situation where there are no molding lines on the body that you need to clean up, because obviously the hood's separate and the rear tailgate's separate and the roof is separate. And obviously there's a two-tone white one on this, but window frames are separate and everything is pieced out in such a way that you never have to say, other than sprue attachment points, there are no mold line cleanups here, because all the mold lines are running through places that are going to have other parts added on top of, like the hood being separate, the roof being separate, the tailgate being separate, all of those lines that you might have to think, oh man, I need to sand that off there and make the body look good. Yeah, you don't have to, because they're covered by other parts that don't have molding lines for that area. It remains to be seen here whether or not you get water slides with this or not. It doesn't show water slides in the literature, so might be another case of it being a Mylar sticker only release. Traditionally speaking, only molded in white kits from Fujimi have had water slides, and that obviously isn't. The roof doesn't count there. And then lastly, from this Fujimi this month is the, let's see, what are we talking about here? The 1992 season of the Japanese Touring Car Championship, Axia R32 GTR. So this is an Object T team car. It did win one round of the 1992 JTTC. Technically speaking, because of the weird way JTTC scored its drivers, which was by driving distance, which always meant that the primary driver was going to drive slightly more kilometers than the replacement drivers, because these races were long enough that did require mandatory driver change. The co-driver always has slightly less mileage. So when you look at the 1992 championship season scoring, Hasemi Motorsports won the championship, with Hasemi-san himself winning the actual driver's championship, because technically he drove 5 kilometers more than his co-driver did. So when you look at these guys, they are third and fourth place in overall championship. But in reality, they're second, right? Hosemi Motorsports first. These guys were second. They had a number of seconds. There were a lot of podiums throughout the year, plus they won a race. So this Axia livery, which is different than the 93 Axia livery, if you want both oil splotch art cars, you need to buy a version of this kit. And why I say a version? Well, the wheels on this aren't right, at least not in this prototype shot. They were flat-faced BBS meshes, not any sort of dish BBS mesh. Also, and let me show you the decal sheet here. Also, Hasegawa announced at the beginning of this year that they're going to do a version of this same car. Now, you could probably get into a very interesting long-range conversation as to whose decals are harder to work with. Hasegawa's home print Japanese decals or Fujimi's home print decals. Why either one of them won't pay to have somebody else produce their decals, I don't know. I guess it keeps their kit prices in line, right? You look at a Hasegawa kit, brand new tool Hasegawa kit, and it's $25 in Japan. Maybe that's why they can afford that, because they aren't paying an arm and a leg for Cartograph for somebody else to do their racing decals. These look really interesting to put on in terms of especially the side panels, because our GTR, my friends, is not at all smooth-sided car as you might think it is, especially the racing version, which had a little extra spats in front of the rear wheels. I assume this will fit. I assume they'll be okay. But yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of... You're going to be using all the microset and microsol you got, along with probably most of your, to me, a strong and extra strong, and probably all your Solvaset to get this to go on there. But then they'll just crack and break, and you'll be really, really frustrated. But, again, nobody offered this decal sheet in the aftermarket either, so it kind of stuck. Now, Hasegawa is doing theirs. Hasegawa has traditionally been splitting their decal sheets, because I have their new Axia 93 car, and I've compared it to the decal sheet that Fujimi threatened to do for theirs, and the Hasegawa one's split up in a much more common sense way. It includes extra colors in case you happen to split the striping so that you can repair it, but yeah. Now, this does have a new chassis that all the R32s have been carrying, where it's got the correct four-wheel, all-wheel drive system. That was something that the R32s in the past never had. They ran a generic rear-wheel drive Nissan chassis, and hence didn't have all-wheel drive like the race cars did. But I don't know if that's necessarily worth it. My personal plan here is to wait until March when the Hasegawa kit comes out to pick one up. Skip the Fujimi unless you really, really want one right now, and yeah, go from there. That would be my suggestion. Over to Hasegawa, where we have a few releases, and all of these are pretty much modified minorly. First up, you have the Cyber Mercedes C9 CLA Frost with figures. Oh, the egg-playing girls have now attacked the racing circuit. So this isn't a real race car, obviously. You do get a little 1/24 scale resin CLA Frost figure, so if the graphics weren't enough to get you a divorce, you painting a tiny hot-shorted, bikini-topped resin figure with pink hair might be. It's a very interesting livery. It is CLA Frost in that sort of outfit she's on the box art there, splayed over the entire roof and engine cover of this kit. The Cyber C9s that Hasegawa did are curbside. They're about 60 pieces. Very, very basic, much like all of their other older 90s era Group C cars. So, yeah, that's a thing, I guess. Next up, you have a reissue of the Toyota Celica Turbo 4-wheel drive rally car, this time in the Griffin 94 Tour de Course rally livery. Griffin being a independent racing team. This car finished third in the 1994 Tour de Course, so there's something if you're interested in doing. This kit's quite old. This was reissued. It was released originally in 1994 when this was done as a rally car, and then they did the civilian car of it. But this is the first time this kit's been reissued a little bit, so we tossed it in the pile here. And this is the 1994 Subaru Impreza WRX. Like I said, Civi version of the rally car that they did. So, yeah, it's been, again, a little while since this has been in the catalog, so we're just mentioning it in passing. And then you have a reissue of the Nissan Pulsar GTI R rally car. Finally, as one of the actual decent cars that were done, their other reissues of this have been, like, some really interesting, also ran WRC cars. This is the Group N champion, so this is a much closer to stock version. You won't be able to tell any of that, really, with this, because of the fact that, you know, the differences between WRC Group B at the time, and Group N is very, very minimal. There are actually no new parts in this kit. That's how minimal they are. But this does have the, what is this? Alcatel livery for Gregor de Mobius, who won the championship that year. So, again, a little bit different in the sense that we have a championship car. This livery is available, I think the Rege, if you want to do the WRC version of it, because it ran both Group B and Group N with the same livery that year, which does include some parts. But I think at this point, those parts have been done by Hasegawa on one of the other kits that they did, so you don't necessarily need all the resin that comes with that, but, is what it is. All right, so next up you have this, the Mitsubishi Lancer EX2000 Turbo, the 1982 Thousand Lakes Rally Detail Up version. So in this kit, you're going to get a whole bunch of extra pieces and parts in the terms of, like, PE, basically. So this is going to come with a PE sheet for stuff like the mesh for the front grille, brake faces, all of the seatbelt equipment, metal backing plates for the license plates, some footrests for the drivers, mirror faces and things like that, tow hooks, all that sort of stuff. No new parts to this. And, basically, and you also get the metal antenna for the roof and stuff like that. So no new parts really here, just PE being added to it, and that adds a additional price to taking this up to it's $27.55. So really not that much, but that is about $5 more than the actual kit itself cost in the past. Then you have the Toyota Celica 1600 GT custom version. So this is an amalgamation of parts, is what you're getting here, because the Watanabes have always been in the Celica 1600 GT kit, unless you get the original genuine wheel kit version. What do they call it? Production type steel wheel, because that has an actual set of like factory stock rims in it. But every other 1600 GT Celica street car you've seen has Watanabes inside, whether you realize it did or not. This has the over fenders and some of those pieces from the race car version of this kit that are not normally in the actual Celica 1600 GT kit. So, yeah, like I said, it's a over fender, front spoiler, rear spoiler, all that stuff that's normally in the race car version of this, they're tossed into this kit, and ta-da! New model kit. So, the literature here says, add plastic parts to dress up like racing-style road racer. Which might be slightly redundant, but that's also probably a Japanese mechanical translation issue. But be it as it may, I mean, it's something else. It looks cool, don't get me wrong, but it's, something that if you had a couple of extra pieces here and there, you could have made yourself. But the Celica 1600 GTs are pretty nice little kits for what they are and how old they are. They're like mid-1990s, but yeah, cool. This is something else that, by the way, needs another reissue in terms of, like, retooled. It serves the purpose, but having an actual new tool version of this done, where the race car parts and the street car parts and everything were done in a way where you didn't have to basically take a sawzall to the model kit to make a race car out of it. These over fenders you probably don't necessarily need to remove quite as much as you do for the racing version that has the big over fenders, but you're still going to have to do some body mods. Be nice to have them do something that was a little more towards their new tool RX-7, where you still have to do some body mods, but they're all roughed into the body, and it's much easier to deal with. Yeah, your mileage may vary there. And then, lastly, from Hasegawa, I believe, let me double check here. Yep, looks like you have the Isuzu 117 Coupe Middle Version XE Old Emblem 1973. So this will be the fourth version of the Isuzu 117 that they've done. They did a middle version already, but it was in 1976, and it came with sort of the new style Isuzu logo. This has three new pieces added to it. The fender mirrors, which are new, and then that emblem on the trunk, which, if you've never seen a newer tool Hasegawa kit, a lot of the trim comes as separate chromed pieces that either have a decal to overlay over top of it, or they give you painting instructions on how to paint the teeny weeny itsy bitsy part that you then have to use like canopy glue or something to attach, because oh my god, it's a piece the size of a pinhead and you can't glue that to a body, because if you drop it then you have slopped super glue all over the place. We molded in this green because that's what Hasegawa does, and yeah, it's kind of interesting in the sense that it's the most minor variation ever, and I kind of want it. I don't need it because I haven't built any of the other 117s that I own. But, in an era where a lot of Hasegawa gets to the point where it's like, okay, let's throw some resin, window louvers on it and call it a day. This at least has new parts included in it. So yeah, 1973 was the first of this redesigned version, if you will, which had the different rear taillights, different front fascia, and stuff like that. They did in the 1976 kit. You have a 76 kit, unless you really want that logo and those mirrors, you don't need this kit necessarily. But again, it piques my collector's interest, which I know is what Hasegawa wants to do, right? But probably will not pick that up. Something currently I don't have on order. And then that takes us to two more kits to round out this video, right? Let's talk about the folks over at Meng, if I can find it. They are releasing another version of their new tool R8 Audi LMS GT3 car. Now, the original version of this probably still isn't out necessarily in every place. I know it's out in Japan now, which means that it has been shipped worldwide, but I don't know how easy it will be to find, depending on where you live. This is what they're calling the EVA RT Test Type 01 TRST R8. This livery was run in the 2020, I believe, Macau Grand Prix, or what was a local version of the Macau GT Cup. FIA was not involved, COVID, so it was a race run locally. The local folks have a complete opinion about that race being run locally and not having international drivers, which is quite entertaining if you really want to sit down and have a conversation with somebody about it. They're not fans, if you couldn't guess. But the only new thing here is the decal sheet. And this decal sheet, as you see in the box art, is not complete. It's missing the banner for the windshield. It's obviously missing sponsorship on the tires. It's missing all of the gear. No, it's not the Gear Race Macau. It wasn't technically the FIA Macau GT Challenge anymore because, again, no FIA. It was something like the Macau GT Challenge or something like that. I should have looked that up before I started talking about it. But anyway, if you're into GT3 racing, you know what a complete and total dumpster fire that race was. But it's missing all of like the window, or all the number placards and everything like that. Now, I have one on order. Because I ordered it with a bunch of other stuff, I've not gotten any progress on that order, so somebody else may get one of these long before I ever do at this rate, because Hobby Easy is apparently holding my order for something that's out of stock, but they won't say what, or be willing to cut the order for whatever reason. Do with it what you will with that. But I'm interested to see if all the decals are in here, because if it's not, the EVA race cars are cool, but it's not actually what they've advertised it as, being this, I think this car finished third in that race. So it's not like an insignificant car that also ran. Meng sponsored an AMG GT3 car this year at the 2023 FIA Macau GT race. I'm kind of interested to see where this goes, because you would think that they would have, because they sponsored the race, the ability to license the placards and stuff. I don't know. I'm interested to see what comes in this box. That's what I'm interested in seeing. I have the original kit, the one that just has the debut livery on it, and it seems like it's a halfway decent model looking at it in the box, because, didn't build it yet, so I don't know if it's decent or not. But, yeah, I'm very skeptical about why this is done if it doesn't have everything on it. It's got a lot of the sponsorship on here, the associate sponsorships and stuff like that, but it does not have the parts that actually make it a race car. And if it doesn't, for $45, I'd be pretty disappointed. And then lastly, this month, technically this came out at the end of December, but it's probably the first time you're really hearing about it, and that is the BMW M6 GT3 from Nunu, and this represents the NLS, or what was the VLN, the racing series that only races at the Nuremberg ring, or the Nordschleife. And this is Walking Horse Motorsports, and this is the car that, as it ran, that won the championship in 2020 during the COVID year. They released, might be 18 months ago at this point, may be longer than that at this point, a M6 GT3 with the Rau, or Rova, depending on how you want to pronounce that, because a lot of Germans seem to pronounce that Rover motor oil. But this car in the PlayStation livery, right, with the 34 plaque, with this style 34 placard on it. That car was a winning car in the 2020 NLS season, but this car with this new total livery, which it ran in 2020 everywhere for Walking Horse, as well as part of 2021. Was how the car ran is it won the championship. It's supposed to be an 8-round series. I believe it only ran 5 rounds because of COVID, killed the whole middle of the racing season, obviously, as it killed the whole middle of everybody's 2020. And just cool to have this one come out. This is a really wild livery. It's a bunch of total, the total oil service little triangle and a circle thing. That's basically what all those stripes are all over the car. It's a whole bunch of those split up and posted all over the cars. It's very cool in that sense. This is another kit that Nunu has made that was based entirely, or at least partially. I can't take full credit for it. I'm not even going to try. But it's based on a suggestion that I made at the time when they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with this M6, and they wanted to do the PlayStation livery. It was my emphatic suggestion to the powers that be that they do something other than reproducing Frankie's number 101 2016 season 24 Hours of Nürburgring livery, because my opinion was 4 years later, if you wanted to have that decal sheet, you would have already bought it, and sort of replacing it was kind of silly, because, like, why do I want a whole new kit of something that I've been able to build for the last 4 years? And so they went ahead and they did the 2020 race winner. And then I said, you know, if you want to do a walking horse car, do the championship car, because at this point, this is 2021 when we're having this discussion. I said at this point, that car already won the championship, and they were very insistent on they wanted to do something with the PlayStation livery. Obviously, they used Frankie to do some of their decal work, and obviously that artwork exists. And, you know, why redo something completely new? But somebody, somewhere along the lines, filed that away, and it's good to see that it's finally come out, because it's a pretty cool livery, championship car, and, yeah, I'm going to take a little pride in the fact that that finally sees the light of day after all this time. Like every new kit, that does come with its own PE set, and the PE sets for the M6 do come with several sheets of carbon fiber. Most of it is for the bottom of the chassis, which is kind of a weird thing, because, like, you're never going to see it again, but that's what they do with their R8 kits. In the photo etch set, they include carbon fiber for the bottom of the car that you never see again. I suppose for the truly detail-conscious builder, having the floor of that be carbon fiber and not just semi-gloss black is something. I've never quite understood it, because how often does your car end up upside down, unless you're at an IPMS Nationals convention and some guy who's judging tanks is holding it above his head and shining a flashlight at the bottom of it. So I suppose there's always that risk, right? Inside joke. If you know, you know. Alright guys, that wraps this video up. Hope you enjoyed it. See you guys on the other side.